Hi everyone. So if my makeup looks drab today, I've been actually rocking this makeup for about 8 to 12 hours today. No joke. I'm actually filming this on my birthday. And yeah, that's why I have some glittery eyeballs today. But I like this look. If you guys like this look as well, I can definitely do a tutorial trying to recreate this look for you guys. It's using some ColourPop shadows and some Makeup Geek shadows. But anyways, so today I wanted to talk about brushes, makeup brushes, because I don't think I've ever like designated one video on brushes, like sharing my favorite brushes with you guys. And I use all affordable brushes. Like, I'm the type of person that will not spend a lot of money on brushes. I have a few like cosmetics brushes, and I have crown brushes, but they're inexpensive as well. But I don't have a lot of like high-end brushes, because for me, I've found amazing affordable brands that you can find like at Walmart, Ulta, you know, very easy accessible places, and the brushes work. Like, they do their job. And so I don't like spending too much money on brushes. I just don't. You know, there's certain things that I am willing to spend a lot of money on in the, you know, makeup world, but brushes are just not one of them. You know, I do have a few brushes that are on my wish list, but as of now, I'm really happy with the brushes that I do have. And yeah, you are going to see a lot of Real Techniques in here. You're going to see a lot of Eco Tools, some Sonia Kashuk. So if you are wondering what my favorite brushes are and what I use every day on a daily basis, then yeah, just keep watching this video and I will share away with you guys. So I'm going to start off with face products first. So let's begin. So I will start off with my favorite powder brush. This is a big guy. This is a big guy. And this is from Real Techniques. And this is their powder brush. That's what it's called. And I just simply love it because it is so big. I have a couple of powder brushes, like I have this guy, but like compared to this one, this guy is huge. And so it just gets the job done really quickly. This is like the last step to your makeup, because this is, you know, where you apply your finishing powder. So, you know, it's nice that this is super big and fluffy. It has a bit of denseness to it, but I actually like that. So if you want to just like pack on a little bit more powder on certain areas, you can do that. But if you just want like an easy like 1, 2, 3 just powder all over the face just to set your makeup, you can do that as well. So love this brush. Okay, so the next brush is my foundation brush, and this is the buffing brush from Real Techniques. And what I love about this, I love the size first of all, because it's not too big, it's not too small. It can get to any areas of my face. It can get to the very like precise areas of my face, like my nose and the center right here, but it's big enough to get to all the bigger areas as well. So I really like it. I like the finish of it as well. I feel like this works with all of my foundations, so it's just kind of like my go-to brush. I know it's gonna work. So the buffing brush, yes. So the next one I want to talk about is this brush here. This is the contour brush. Now I use this for underneath my eyes to apply concealer and powder underneath my eyes. I just love it for that use. Some people use this as the powder contour brush. I have other brushes for that work better. But for me, this is like the perfect like setting brush, setting powder brush, or even cream concealer. It works really, really nice. I have other brushes that I use underneath my eyes, but I always go back to this one because this one gives me the flawless finish that I want. So I love that one. The next brush that I will talk about is just my bronzer brush. And this is another Real Techniques brush, shocker. And this is called the blush brush. Now, I have used this as a blush brush, but I feel like it's too like big and fluffy for that purpose. It still works out, but for me, I love using this as my all over bronzer brush. It just works so nicely for that. So I just like bronze the temples, do that like perfect like E3 shape, and just bronze my nose, you know, all those areas. And it's just fluffy enough and big enough to do that. and it doesn't pick up too much of my bronzer powder, which I love because I don't want to look like a crazy person with a bunch of bronzer on my face. So I really like that. So the next two brushes I want to talk about are my contouring brushes, and I do use two brushes because they both serve different purposes. So the first one is also from Real Techniques, and this is the Duo Fiber Contour Brush. And I use this for my powder contouring. I love it for that because it is duo fiber, so I feel like it doesn't pick up a lot of the contour powder, because sometimes contour powders, you know, they're meant to be dark because they're meant to be for shadowing purposes. So I don't like a lot of product. So this just picks up the perfect amount, and it's super tiny. So it's absolutely perfect. If you don't have this brush in your collection, go get it because it makes contouring so easy, especially when you're working with powders. For me, I just feel like powders are a little bit more easier to make a mistake, especially when you're contouring. So having a duo fiber brush makes it so much easier, and the size and shape is just perfect. It's kind of like a paddle brush, and it's duo fiber, so it's just a really good brush. The next one I like to use for cream contour. Cream contouring is all the rage, and I've been using cream contour for a very long time. My favorite is the Sonia Kashuk contour stick. So I like using this in conjunction with that product. And I'm definitely going to pick up some of the cream contour palettes that are out from Anastasia and Cover FX. I'm super excited for those. I don't have any of those yet, but I know I'm just gonna love it because I love cream contour. So I use the Sculpting Brush from Real Techniques, and I love the shape of it. It's kind of like an angle shape, so it's just perfect. It gives the perfect shape, and then you can just kind of like blend it away, and just blends the cream seamlessly, and it makes it look very natural. I did use a cream contour today, and I really like the effect of it. It's fluffy enough, but it's also dense enough, so you can pack it in to make it a little bit more natural and also buff it in. So I think that the angle makes it much easier as well. So if you don't have this brush and you're really into cream contouring these days, definitely try it out. So since I can get carried away with my blush, I can definitely be a bit heavy-handed. I need some help with my brushes. So these are my two favorites, and this is the Duo Fiber Face Brush from Real Techniques. I love that it has this really pretty like paddle shape to it, so I can lay it flat. And I also love that, again, it's duo fiber, so it doesn't pick up too much product. So I can definitely build up my blush, which is very helpful. So I really love this. Now, on days that I'm not using that brush, I need this one sometimes. And I use this as sort of like a corrector for any time that I'm a bit heavy-handed. And this is from EcoTools. And this is the Mattifying Finish Brush. And this is actually meant to be used for powder. But I like using this to kind of blend out my blush if I put too much on, because I do have other brushes. These are some of my other blush brushes, and as you can see, they are a bit fluffier and they do pick up a lot of powder. So I like to use this as sort of my blush corrector, and it works really, really good. Plus, I love EcoTools for their packaging. This brush is so pretty, and I believe that this is from their Complexion collection. I just love this little design here. It's so pretty. So then after applying my blush, I then apply my highlight. So my favorite highlighting brush is this one. This one is from EcoTools, and this is called the Deluxe Fan Brush. And I love this because it just picks up the perfect amount of highlighter. So if you have any intense highlighters, this is a good one because it's not going to be like a glitter fest on your face. And it also is so easy to apply the highlighter as well because it applies it to the perfect spots in your face. It's just an easy sweep of highlighter on your face, and I love that. So yeah, it's just a nice fancy brush. You can also use something like this. This is the e.l.f. Small Stipple brush. I also use this as my highlighting brush as well, and it works beautifully. It picks up not too much highlight as well. So it's just a good alternative if you don't have this one. And I believe this one's a little bit cheaper. So those are all of my face brushes. So now we are going to move on to my eye brushes. So I'm going to talk about this one first. This one is from Real Techniques, and this is the Deluxe Crease brush. And what I like to use this for is to apply my primers. And I usually apply my primers with my fingers, but sometimes I like to use a brush, and this is the brush that I typically go for because it's very dense and it's a pretty big brush for an eye brush. So I like that because you can get all of your primer all over your eyes very easily and quickly. So that's a good one. And then my favorite highlighting brush, and just like all over eyeshadow brush, I guess you want to call it, is this one. This is the EcoTools Blend Brush. I don't know why it's called a blending brush because it just looks like a huge eyeshadow brush. But I like to use this for my highlights, or like I said, all over my eyes. Like if I'm just doing a very like natural neutral eye, or just setting my eye primer, then this is the brush that I will use because I have really huge lids, so I need a big brush. I have this really dinky eyeshadow brush from Real Techniques, and this is called the shading brush, and this is just so laughable for my eyes. I actually use this as like my inner corner highlight because this is what I need, not this. Like this does nothing for me, so I really like having like a huge eyeshadow brush in my collection. So the next brush that I want to talk about is what I use for my transition shades right before my crease shade. And this is the Duo Fiber eye brush from Real Techniques. Now what I love about this brush is that it just picks up a little bit of the shadow. So for me, I'm a bit heavy-handed when it comes to my transition colors, that it ends up looking like my crease color. So I need something that is just going to pick up the lightest amount, and that is what works for me. And then it actually looks like a transition color and not like a really dark crease shade. So this is like the most amazing transition brush you could ever find, at least for me it is. And I will buy like 10 of these because they are so good. So that's what I use as my transition brush. So after I would put down a transition color on my eyes, I would then put a crease color. So what I use for my crease shade typically is this brush. And this is the Sonia Kashuk number 116 brush. I believe it's called a tapered crease brush, but don't quote me on it. But it has this white handle here, and it's just like a short tapered crease brush. And I love that it's tapered because it gets right into the crease, and it's fluffy enough where it does blend out the crease really nicely. So I really like that. Also, like with this brush, you can get a very intense crease, or you can get like a very nice light crease. So for blending purposes, I do use another Sonia Kashuk brush. This is just like a Sonia Kashuk blending brush. Now, however, this particular brush is limited edition, but you can find a very similar blending brush in their permanent line. But I did want to show you that because this is basically all I use for blending out any like eyeshadow. So I love this blending brush to kind of blend out any harsh crease, or also applying like a highlight shade and just blending it out and just making my eyeshadow look a little bit more like put together. I love using this for that. So the next brush that I use is sort of like my does it all kind of brush, and this is also from Real Techniques. This is the base shadow brush, and I have like 3 of these because this works for everything. I use this all over my lid, I use this as my crease brush, I use this as my highlighting brush, everything. I always like having one of these around because I always use this brush for any eye look. It doesn't matter. I'm using this. So this brush is from EcoTools, and this is the Smudge brush, and that's basically what I use this for. I use this to smudge any shadow underneath the lower lash line, and I especially like using this with like intense shadows. Like I used it today, if you can tell. I don't know if you can tell, but I used Razzleberry from Makeup Geek underneath my lower lash line, and I used this. So anytime I have like any intense colors and I need to just kind of like blend it out a little bit more on the lower lash line, this is my guy. So I love that. I also can use this sort of like as my like outer V kind of brush. It works really good. It works good for any sort of like detailing or like I said, blending out the lower lash line. So the next brush is also from EcoTools, and this is the shade brush. I don't know why this is called a shade brush. I hope that they're not talking about like an all over shadow brush, because that's kind of funny. This is super tiny, but I like using this as my inner corner brush. It just works really, really well for just adding any highlighter to the inner corners. I do use this sometimes if I want to like pack on highlight on like a certain area of my brow, like right up here in the arches, then I will use that. But for most of the time, I just use this as my inner corner highlight, because like I said, I have big eyes, so I kind of need bigger brushes to suit my needs. Okay, so let's now talk about brows, and do not judge these brows right now because I didn't even use a brush today. I just used a straight up pencil, and that's probably why my brows look nasty. So if I am using a brush, I use these two, and this one I actually got from Michael's. This is a painter's brush, and this is the Royal and Langnickel 1/4 inch brush. I mean, I call it like an angled brow brush. And what I like about this is that it's super, super thin. So for me, this is really perfect for the cream brow products that are ever so popular now. I like it for that. This one is more of like a precise brow. Like you're gonna get a little bit more of an intense brow with this one. So it's not for everybody. Definitely not for everybody. And I wouldn't recommend this if you just use powder. So for powder, I like using this one because it's a little bit more fluffier and you're not going to pick up a lot of product. I feel like for powder you don't want to go heavy-handed. So this one is the Essence of Beauty brow brush. I don't really know, but it's called Smudge and Brow. So Smudge and Brow brush. And I just use this angled part here. And like I said, I like how fluffy this one is. So that's why I use it. And I got this one at CVS. CVS makes pretty good brushes. A lot of them are duo ended, so if you're not into that, you probably wouldn't like this. But yeah, Essence of Beauty. So yeah, I believe that is all the brushes that are my favorite that I use. I do have quite a few brushes. Like, I only pick up affordable brushes, but I still have a brush problem, okay? I still have a brush problem. And that's not all of it. Those are just the ones that I need to clean. Just saying. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, or if you want to let me know what your favorite brushes are, and if you're into affordable brushes or more high-end brushes, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to know. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, leave them in the comments. And I hope that you guys are having an amazing day. I love you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.